Alright, hey guys, we're in Joshua today. We had finished up Deuteronomy, and the next book that we're moving into is Joshua. Now, Joshua, if you'll remember from Exodus and from Deuteronomy, the people were told to go into the land. They sent spies into the land, and there was only two guys that came back that gave a good report of the land. One was Joshua, the son of Nun, and the other one was Caleb. Now, out of all those people who went, and out of all the original people who went into the land, the original adults who were actually part of the Exodus, the only two that actually made it into the land from that original crowd was Joshua and Caleb. They wandered around the wilderness for 40 years, and basically it was the children who ended up possessing the land because the parents had no faith. So there's obviously some lessons in there for us. But one of the things that I wanted to point out here was in chapter 1 and starting in verse 5, it says God is talking to Joshua, and Moses has already passed away. He's died up on the mount, and he was not allowed to go into the land because of some disobedience that he had. But God is telling Joshua here, you're going to be taking over in Moses' place. So he says, God is talking to Joshua, he says, there shall not any man be able to stand before thee all the days of thy life. As I was with Moses, so I will be with thee. I will not fail thee nor forsake thee. And one of the things that I really like about this particular passage and just this whole study today is the fact that even though Moses was disobedient to God, even though he stumbled and he fell and he made mistakes and things like that, God never forsook him. God was always with him. And all the way up until the end where Moses dies, God was still with him. Now, Moses still had to suffer the consequences for his actions in that he was not allowed to go into the land, but he still had a relationship with God all the way into the end. And that is something that is hugely comforting to me as I screw up day to day, is that just like Joshua here, that God is not going to fail him, nor is he going to forsake him. So in verse 6 he goes on, he says, be strong and of good courage, for unto this people shalt thou divide for an inheritance the land which I swear unto their fathers to give them. So God swore that this land was going to go to them, and he swore to their fathers that it would go to these people. So once again, God's promises, they're going to happen regardless. Only be thou strong and very courageous, that thou mayest observe to do according to all the law which Moses my servant commanded thee. Turn not from it to the right hand or to the left, that thou mayest prosper whithersoever thou goest. So once again, we see this same theme that is constantly repeated, and that is that our status, our condition here on earth is based on our obedience to God. But our relationship with God is not. If we are God's chosen, if we are his children, God disciplines his children when we're disobedient. And we see this throughout Scripture, even in the book of Hebrews. The writer of Hebrews actually draws encouragement from this in saying that, take some encouragement from the fact when you're disciplined, because it shows that you are God's child. So as we're getting into this, we see that Joshua is told to keep the law, but notice that he's told to keep the law after God tells him, I will not fail you nor forsake thee. I will not leave you. I will not let you go unprotected. My relationship with you will be the same as it was with Moses. And he was with Moses to the end, but Moses suffered consequences for his actions. And the same is going to be the case in Joshua, and the same is the case in our lives as well. Our relationship is based on God calling us out and drawing us unto him. It is not based on our obedience. That in no way removes our responsibility to be obedient, as we see in Romans 5. We're not then therefore allowed to be disobedient, because being God's child, he will discipline. And as was the case with Moses, whose greatest longing was to be able to go into the land, he was actually not ever allowed to go into the land. So don't don't dismiss the obedience of God in the sense that, well, my relationship is always going to be there. Don't hold it lightly. But by the same token, understand that our relationship with God is based on God and His sovereign election, based on Him calling us out in the same way that He called Moses, in the same way that He called Joshua, and He called Abraham. In each and every one of these cases, God established that relationship according to His will and His purposes, and God maintained that relationship. So that's something that I personally take a lot of comfort in, especially as I screw up from day to day, is the fact that I have a Father that will sustain me, that will discipline me, but that He will always be there with me as well. So anyway, I want to share that with you guys. All right, God bless.